Author Pindile Yende, whose previous books, A Marriage Built on Lies and Yet You Married Him, received positive reviews, has penned another book. Now, this book is titled, we've called it Quits, Navigating Life After Divorce, Separation, or Breakup. The book chronicles the journey usually followed once a relationship breaks down. And she joins us now to tell us more. Pindi, good morning and congratulations on this book.
Good morning, Masechaba. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you for being here. Now, I will just jump right in. In your intro, you say, it's been 6 years since I've been officially divorced. Yes. 8 years since I left my marital home. It has been a journey of trials and tribulations. Of course, the book was published last year. At what point in your journey did you find the strength to put pen to paper?
Well, I guess it started while I was actually still in my marriage when I started writing Yet You Married Him. And I just thought to myself that, you know what, I need to have a conversation with someone. But because we live in a society where certain things in our marriages we're not supposed to discuss with just everyone, then I thought to myself that it would be the perfect time to actually write it down for myself, for my own healing process because of what I was enduring in my marriage. And then eventually I decided that I'm going to share it with the world.
Yeah. Yes. Now, with the world who haven't read your books, could you give us a chronological order of your journey from being married or just before marriage, because the red flags began?
Absolutely.
You saw them before the marriage, and then the process of getting married right to the point where you are now.
Well, I started writing Yet You Married Him, as I've just mentioned, whilst I was still in my marriage. So I was going through a very difficult time, right? Married to a man that I thought I knew, a man who presented himself in a certain way, and obviously I'm also going through a phase where I just wanted to tick boxes, whereas I've just completed school, I've just bought my little car, and now it's time to get married, and society is also asking, girl, you're turning 30, when are you getting married, you know? And then I got married to the wrong person. And when I wrote Yet You Married Him as well, I was at a point where all I did was saw the wrongs that he did. And I wasn't able to see my own contributions to how I got myself into that situation, which is what a lot of people do, whereas we're quick to point fingers, but we don't really introspect and see that how did I actually find myself in this situation? Ignoring red flags, feeling that you are under pressure, everybody's getting married, I should be getting married, and so forth. Then I published Yet You Married Him immediately after I got out of the marriage, because I think that's when I got the courage to actually say I'm ready to put my story out there. However, I was also reluctant in writing my entire story because, you know, I wasn't objective at the time because I'm still grieving at that point. I'm still angry. I'm still hoping that things will still work out, even though I have left the marital home. And then after a couple of years leaving, then I was brave enough to actually put my entire story in A Marriage Built on Lies. So A Marriage Built on Lies is actually a biography in which I speak about exactly what happened within my marriage, and I just bear myself naked.
And this is where
book.
you go into detail about the red flags.
Absolutely.
So I just want to park on the red flags for a second, because there's a lot here when it comes to red flags, right? On page 8 of your book, you say at this point, there was a point where you felt consumed with guilt because you asked God to forgive you. You say, I asked God to forgive me for the pain I had caused when I watched my ex-husband mistreat the mother of his child when we were still dating. Out of my own selfishness, I allowed him to feed me lies that were convenient for me at the time. So tell us more about your journey with red flags.
Masechaba, you know, when you are under pressure, and I'm not saying that it's just society that puts you under pressure. We live in a society whereas we want to live for what the world says, right? And I succumbed myself to that, whereas I just told myself that everything that is happening, from the cheating, from the bad business deals that I didn't know of, lying about his profession, I ignored all of that. And remember, when you meet a person as well, when they tell you certain things, you become excited to tell your friends about it. You become excited to tell your family that, oh, mommy, I'm married to a doctor. But now... Like
it's a badge.
Yes, you know what I mean? And then you then decide, then when you find out truths about this person, it's very difficult to go and tell these people that, no, actually, everything else that I told you about this person is a lie. So you then become part of the lie, and then you also start uttering the lies that he tells you. And
so lies is a red flag. What other red flags were there for you?
sure, how he treated his mom and the mother of the children, the relationship that he also had with his mother, because we sometimes tend to ignore that. When you get married to a person, the first thing that you must look at is how he actually relates with his family. But now, if you're going to also ignore that, how do you think that the way he treats his mother, he will treat you any better? How he treats the mother of his children and the children from his previous relationship or marriage, what makes you think that along the line he's going to treat your children better or even treat you better? So those were the other red flags that I saw. And just how as well, I know that we can't diagnose people as being narcissists, but I think we read enough books to be able to determine whether you're married or are with a narcissist or not. Narcissists will also make you feel that everything else is wrong with you, whereas you know that there's actually, you have your faults, but there's just certain things where you can see that now.
And which is what we call gaslighting.
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Now, we're almost out of time, which is unfortunate because I have so much I want to ask you. Okay. On behalf of our viewers, of course.
Yes.
Asking for a friend. Now, you say, imagine it, the children who have an absent father would now have an absent mother because she was affected by an absent husband, and yet they're still married. Briefly talk to us about the impact of staying in a toxic marriage for the sake of children.
That's a very bad decision to make, Masechaba. And then I'll make an example with me. I'm raising 2 boys. I didn't want my sons to think that the way my ex-husband behaves in a home is the way a man should actually behave, because I'm raising somebody's husband, you know, and they need to know exactly how a proper family should be run. So in that case, what happened is that with my ex-husband, with the way he treated me, with his absence in the home, I was constantly focused on how bad things are in the marriage, and I didn't pay attention to my children. And my children in that way then didn't have a present mother, even though I was present in the home, because I wasn't there to love them, I wasn't there to nurture them. I was just blessed that I had a very good nanny at that time who actually stepped in when I was absent, but present in the house.
So too much emphasis is placed on nuclear families, where we think that what kids need is a biological mother and a biological father, whereas what kids need is love.
Absolutely.
And stability.
Yes.
All right, so in chapter 2, you talk about honest interventions. What is it that your therapist said to you that forced you to wake up to the reality of your life?
In short, she said that I was a doormat and I was allowing it to happen. And she said that this man presented everything that he is from start, but then I decided to allow all these things to happen to me. So at the end of the day, it was my decision to make, to say, I'm not allowing this to happen anymore to me, and to actually deal with my own past traumas as well, asking myself that what happened to me to have allowed me to allow myself to be in this situation. And those are the honest interventions I had, and I was lucky enough that she even put together an exit plan for me, which I have also put in the book.
Which I'd love to talk about, actually. We will close with the exit plan, because this is very important, especially in a country where the rates of gender-based violence and femicide are so high, and we know that most women, in many cases, get killed trying to leave the relationship. But first, speaking about, just parking here a little bit on honest interventions, the reality is that not everyone can afford a therapist. So what for you are the various ways that one can seek honest interventions, considering that therapy can come in many different forms for different individuals?
It's always finding safe spaces, Masechaba. Like, for example, I've got very good friends that I can actually have conversations with, and they're able to help me throughout my problems. We've got churches, we've got counselors where you don't even have to spend a cent to speak to somebody. And it's all about finding a good support structure for yourself. And yes, I agree that some families are not supportive when it comes to people's marriages because of what maybe they get to benefit from that specific person's marriage who is in their family, and they basically say, begezela, stay.
I will quote you on page 36, you say, let us understand this about long-term relationships and marriages. Everyone chooses a battle that they think they can fight.
Absolutely. So we shouldn't judge a woman who does decide to stay in a toxic marriage because they're thinking that I have to go back home in a 2-bedroom house. There's my uncle, there's my aunt. Where are my children and I going to sleep? And that's where the exit plan actually comes in, to say this is actually how you prepare. There's a chapter in which I mentioned, do not pack your bags as yet, dependent, of course, on the situation that you are in.
Oh, let's talk about that now. Now, this is a part where we expand on exit strategies. Now, what are the key considerations when planning or implementing your exit strategy?
Firstly, finances, Masechaba. I think a lot of women usually go back to toxic situations because they feel that how am I going to survive without money? I speak about the importance of planning financially. I speak about the importance of also taking care of yourself emotionally and mentally, trying to figure out how are you feeling at that time, because we are also quick to pack our bags because we are angry. And then 2 weeks later, you are the same woman that packs your bag again. You go back to the very same man that beat you up, or the very same man that said, actually, I want you to leave. I want you to be with Masechaba now. I don't want to be with you, Pindi. So it's a lot of things that I speak about that you need to get in check before you actually pack your bags and leave.
And to add to that, to add to that, also you brought in a dynamic that I'd never actually thought about. How often when an individual leaves out of anger or emotions, the impact on that on your family.
Yes.
Because now, what teka. So today we are with you, you are leaving, we are supporting you, tomorrow you're back, what must happen?
It affects a lot of people,
right.
And not just even your family, because you can go back to your mother's house and your mom can see that, oh my gosh, this child of mine is going to die, the way things are going. And then you now tell your mom that I'm going back to the same man that's doing all these things to me. And the children as well. We don't have the necessary conversations with our children. You just tell your child, come, we're going, and you packing, you get into the car, you're leaving. We don't think about how that affects the child. So it's very important that when you make that decision, you are in a space of being sound-minded and you have received the necessary advice to know exactly how do I move on from here.
Now let's talk about the dynamics of children from broken homes. You elaborate so eloquently on that in your book. There's a chapter, I believe it's chapter 7, that speaks about unburdening the children. How did you manage to do that?
I'm still unburdening them, Masechaba.
It's a process, isn't it?
It's a process. It's actually quite a journey, because when we leave our marriages, the children are actually the last people that sometimes we think about, right? How they get affected and all that, because you're so consumed in your own emotions. You're so angry with that person. So when we unburden the children, it's all about how do we relate with your ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, dependent on what kind of relationship you just come out of. And also the other people that are going to be in our lives. So now my ex-husband, let's say he's now married to somebody else. How do I manage the relationship that he has with the new partner in order to make it easy for my children to adjust to the other mom, without it now being affecting me and thinking, why is my child calling this woman mom? And now I'm personalizing it, and then I'm making it all about me. So I speak about all those challenges. And also, when I speak about unburdening the children, also people who are in those marriages whereas it's not working out, and now your children are suffering from watching this tumultuous marriage that is happening right in front of them, and then now they think that this is how marriage is supposed to be like. So there's a lot of thinking and a lot of figuring things out in how to unburden the children. But it's not easy. We all learn as we go.
It's a journey.
Yes,
it's a journey. So Pindi, in closing and very briefly, what advice do you have for those men sometimes,
yes,
and women who are finding themselves on the journey to healing?
Masechaba, I say take time. Take time to find yourself, take time to heal, take time to figure things out and figure yourself out. Because the moment you don't do that, I'm going to bleed on you, Masechaba. And I'm going to affect all other people that are in our lives, not just the children as well. So the moment you take time, you're actually able to get yourself together. And then when you move on, you know that you have gathered yourself together and you're ready to move on.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Masechaba.
And thank you for this book. I guarantee it will heal a lot of people.
I'm glad. That's the aim.
All right, that was author Pindile Yende talking about her latest book called We've Called It Quits. Now, the reality is navigating life after a divorce, separation, or breakup. Where do people get this book, by the way?
It's at your leading bookstores, exclusive books, bargain books, take a lot. And if you want a signed copy, you can DM me. I'm on Instagram, Pindile Yende, and Facebook, Pindile Yende as well, TikTok. More than welcome to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.